Alright guys, first and foremost, honestly it's always a pleasure to come up obviously and speak to a school, so it's great to be up obviously on stage. As a little bit in the introduction, I understand where you are at the moment, mock exams. Believe it or not, I did mock exams very long time ago before grey hair and wrinkles, so I know what you're going through, but what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit of a team. We're a family and it's something called Team Angel Wolf. Now, before I kick off with the talk, I want to say a huge thank you to why I do these talks. Now, I go to the schools, and like yourself, I've probably spoken to about 8,000 children in the last 6 months. So we do this on a regular basis, but we've set ourselves up in the last few months as a non-profit organisation. And so to make this happen, because I go to the schools and do it for free, we bring on partners. And they come on, give some free giveaways. So today these guys have just started off with us. They're a fantastic brand, it's called Kyoto, and they bring out an organic milk. And the idea of what these guys are doing is not only do they bring a great product here to the region, what they do most importantly, and the reason why we've brought them on board as a partner, is they give back to charity. So we've got two of the audience, one is the founder, so if you just put your hands together for these guys because they're supporting you. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so Team Angel Wolf. Alright, so you can see obviously a little bit about obviously Team Angel Wolf, but before I go into Team Angel Wolf, I'm going to tell you about me. So you can connect with obviously who I am, why I'm stood on this stage, and what my story is about. Now it's very simple. As you can probably see, the top picture is a lovely picture of a lake in the middle of France. Now you can probably tell from my accent, I'm originally from the UK. And for whatever reason, when I was about 16, my mum and dad decided to find somewhere a little bit warmer, because for those that know the UK, it's normally dark by about 4 o'clock, it rains a lot, it's fairly miserable. So they decided to sell everything in the UK and they started this new venture. They had no idea, my mum and dad didn't speak French, but they bought a hotel. It's called Hotel de Lac. It's on the side of a lake in central France, and it's this absolutely idyllic facility. So I was 16 at the time, and I followed them out, and when I got there that summer, they did a triathlon. So those that know a triathlon, you swim, you bike, and you run. So I remember I didn't have a bike, borrowed my dad's bike, found some surfing shorts, and went off and did this, what we call a sprint triathlon. So we swam about 750 meters, and cycled 20 kilometers around the lake, and did this fantastic run up through the woods for about 5k. So I finished this race, got across the finish line, and fell in love with this sport. Thought, this is for me, works for me, something that I kind of dreamt of. I went to boarding school as a kid, so my sports were rugby, hockey, athletics, and everything that you would do. But sport was a massive focus, and it was something that I always enjoyed. But when I found triathlon, it was an individual sport because I was always competing against myself. Whilst I was in France, I stayed in France. I actually studied in Toulouse, in the south of France. I actually studied art, of all things. The dream as a kid was actually to design cars. So went to Toulouse, spent a couple of years there, but whilst I was there, got heavily involved in triathlon. We set up a triathlon club, started racing. We raced around France. Every 2 weeks we were somewhere in France racing. But I kind of had this dream of getting into fitness. And I thought, what a better way than find a job that you get paid for to keep fit. So I went back to the UK, had a free haircut, so they shaved my head, and I joined the Royal Marines. I joined a little bit later, I was about 21 when I joined, and we spent the next 5 years travelling around the world. We spent about 9 months a year outside the UK, and we were everywhere. We were actually in this part of the world, we're in South America, a lot of time in Norway, with skiing, and again, the great thing about the Marines is you have to be fit. It's part of obviously the criteria, because everything that you do, you carry. So when you get from A to B, you have to carry all your equipment. When you get from A to B on skis, you have to ski it as well. So when I came out of the Royal Marines, I said, I love this industry. I want to be involved in sport, health and fitness. So what I did is I went on a personal training course. the sports therapy course. I met my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. And when we finished, we actually came out, well, we were actually looking for somewhere to go. A bit like my mum and dad. So we didn't want to stay in the UK. Again, we didn't want to stay in France, but we wanted to find somewhere a little bit warmer. And we actually decided to come out to Dubai. Now, 20 years ago, 1996, I remember saying to a friend, and he said, have you ever thought about going to Dubai? And I was like, where is Dubai? I had no idea. 20 years ago, Dubai was not really in the media. We didn't really know much about Dubai. But when I left the Marines, there was one little point. And I used to party a lot. I had some great times. But when I left, I had about 4,500 dirhams. And I was like, well, I want to go to Dubai. So I got a one-way ticket. We had a backpack. I had no job. Arrived with my girlfriend in Dubai airport to try and start a career here. We stayed in some hostel, stayed in some little hotel in Deira, and we spent the next few months trying to find work here in Dubai. And we actually, what we ended up doing, after a bit of time, we set up the Pharaoh's Club. Do you know the climbing wall? Climbing wall in the Wafi? So that's what we set up. So a long time ago, that was our first thing. And then from there, I set up the first personal training centre here in Jumeirah. We then expanded to DIFC, opened up another club. And then, as of recently, we were involved in setting up a children's radio station. You might know it, Pearl FM. And that was something that we kind of get involved in. So, on this journey, something happened. In 2003, this little boy comes into my life. Rio's now 13. And when he was born, everything was fine. And then one day, we got him out the bath. So it was a Friday afternoon. And for those, actually, I'm going to ask you a quick question, actually. I should have done this at the beginning. How many of you have brothers and sisters? All right, loads of you. Okay, fantastic. So, we lifted Rio out the bath, and Rio was probably about the size of this microphone. We lifted Rio out the bath, and Rio stopped breathing. His lips went blue, his fingernails went blue, and we had this lifeless, floppy child in our hands. We rushed down to the hospital, panicking, and on the way to the hospital, Rio came out of this episode. We had no idea what just happened. It lasted about 7 minutes. So we get to the hospital, and the guy goes, "He looks okay, no problem. You can go home." So we went home. Next day, exactly the same thing. We got him out of the bath. Rio went into this state with no idea what to happen. Got him into recovery position, trying to open up his airway. Then exactly the same thing, jumped in the car, down to the nearest hospital. Again, 7, 8 minutes. Everything's kind of came out of it, very tired. 2 days later, another episode. 3, one more. 4, another one. A week later, another one. Every time the same thing, and we have no idea what's happening to our son. So, we start a journey realizing that Rio is very different. We start looking at other children, obviously as you do as a parent, and you start going, well look, Rio's not developing like our friends' kids. And we start to realize that Rio has a certain ability or disability. And we spend 4 years trying to understand what's right or wrong with Rio. And we're all made up of 22 chromosomes. You can see it up in the top picture. And Rio's condition is so rare, it's named after the part of the chromosome that's missing. And it's called 1q44 deletion. So on chromosome 1, part Q44 is deleted. So you're probably thinking, okay, so what does that mean? Well, first off, we call it de novo. So it means it's not come from the parent. It's not come from the family. It's a freak of nature, and it's just ended up with Rio has a part of this chromosome missing. So you probably think, okay, so how's that affect him? Well, he still has seizures. The seizures are very different. He tries to fight them now. He knows they're coming. They don't last as long, but he has these kind of moments that he's not with us. And we're very aware of this as well. He has severe learning disabilities. Now, he would never have the chance to come to this school. I would never have the opportunity to speak to him in the audience. So he has to go to a special needs centre. We now actually brought him back home, and he's more comfortable at home. We've got someone helping him at school, at home. I say he's non-verbal, but Rio learns everything about repetition. And he learns little phrases. He learns words over time and songs. And if life was a musical, Rio would be starring in it because he's always singing. So Happy Birthday is one of his favourites. We get Happy Birthday about 10 times a day at home. Incy Wincy Spider, he loves that. Anything that's rhythmical, he's always smiling, and he's always repeating these like little songs. Grows finer motor skills. Now, first and foremost, I'd have no idea what this is and what it does. And he would have problems pressing the buttons like he does even with feeding. You know, he's getting there, 13, but he still finds it difficult. We have to guide him with obviously even eating. Sensory integration. Now, if he was here today, I wish he was here, he would have a little bit of a struggle in understanding this environment. You lot here sat down, so that's kind of something. There's lights, there's me up on stage. So it would take him time to absorb this, obviously to absorb this environment. But he would get there. In time, he would feel a little bit comfortable. And he's still in nappies, guys. Still at 13, you know, we still have to make sure that we have a set of nappies if we go out, just to make sure he's okay. So, we're talking about struggles. You guys are going through your mock exams at the moment. And when Rio came along, as a dad, you've got a couple of options. You can either stay on your feet and on your knees and you can kind of struggle, moan and groan, or you can get up your feet and you go out and do something very special. So the first thing I thought, okay, I've got a boy with disabilities here, what can I do and how can I give back to the community? Why don't I try and make a difference? So the first thing I did, because I had a personal training centre, I used to bring children with disabilities to my gym and I trained them. So first and foremost, they absolutely loved it because they were outside this environment of therapy. I had one little girl, she had cerebral palsy. So cerebral palsy had problems with balance and stability. Really bright girl, but her body didn't function brilliantly. So the thing that I used to do with her was boxing. She loved it. She used to come down, throwing her punches, bum, bum, bum. But for us, we knew there was balance, coordination, and skills to set off, obviously, the skills of boxing. And she absolutely loved it, and we had great results with her. The other thing, I used to run this program called the Beach Blast. These things float in water. I used to come to a school like yours. We used to invite loads of children down with disabilities and say, look, play with them for an hour. So it gave you the opportunity to help someone in need from their wheelchair into a floating wheelchair, go and play with them for an hour. Absolutely brilliant. The other thing, I took 2 Emiratis to Mount Kinabalu, Malaysia. We climbed them, 4,000 metre climb, got onto the top, absolutely brilliant. We also used to run an event for about 7-8 years called Reaching You Pie in the Park. Again, free fun day. I used to go to every school in the UAE, invite everyone along. I used to go to every special needs centre, invite them along. And what we used to do, a fun day in Zabil Park. And the thing that we used to ask everyone afterwards, and hopefully if one person came away and went home and asked mum and dad, so look, I've just seen a boy in a wheelchair, what's all that about? We started to spread awareness about children with disabilities. So, Team Angel Wolf. Where are we and what we are and who are we? Well, very simple. There's Ugly Dad at the top. There's my lovely wife, Delphine. There's Tia, my daughter. And there's Rio. Now, you're probably thinking the name Angel Wolf. Well, we call Tia Little Wolf. If she was here at the moment, she's 9. She's this little free-spirited, crazy little kid. She'd probably be dancing on the stage. We actually had her in Spinneys the other day, and she thought it was quite fun to run around on all fours, howling at the other customers as they were pushing their, and this is Spinneys, not Carrefour, so she was running around howling at all the other customers, and I was like, that's my daughter. So that's Little Wolf, and she's this great little personality, hence Team Angel Wolf. Rio we call our angel, obviously, for obvious reasons. So that's Team Angel Wolf, and triathlon. Why don't I do triathlon? Well, a couple of years ago, and I had a health issue, so I was in hospital at the time. They removed a big lump out my colon. It's about 6 centimetres, and if they kept it in there, I probably wouldn't be stood on this stage today. So when they took it out, I woke up in the hospital, I had tubes down my nose, my wife comes in, and the first thing I said to her, I said, I want to do an Ironman. She's like, what? You just come out of surgery? No, I want to do an Ironman. So an Ironman, you swim 3.8 kilometres, you cycle 180 and you run 42. So in hospital I was like, yep, got to do Ironman. So anyway, I started getting training for it. And then along the way, we wake up one morning, Delphine says, have you ever thought about doing this for your son Rio? And I went, wow, yeah, okay. How am I going to do that? But then it took me back, do you remember the first slide with me in France doing that first triathlon? It took me back to that time when I raced. And I thought, you know what, Rio will never have the opportunities to experience what I experienced when I did triathlon. So I thought, why don't I race with him? Why don't I find a way that we can race together? So we did our first race. And it was back in 2014, it was called Dubai International Swimming and Triathlon. You swam 1.9. So I'm swimming, pulling Rio, 90 kilometers on the bike, Rio sits on the front, and 21k pushing Rio. And that was our first race. Got across the finish line, first race, absolutely ecstatic, completely exhausted, but I realized I wanted to do this again. And I go, I want to do another one. Rio. Did he like it? I'm not sure. He was there, he was happy. So we do our second race, same distance. Now, you know Dubai has those days where it's like a complete sandstorm. I think they close schools, you can't get anywhere. Well, the second race, Dubai was like that, and I'm going to give you an idea of what the swim was like. So imagine pulling your son in a kayak. This is what the waves were like in Jumeirah. So, the right-hand side is not what the water was like. These are the pros swimming. So, the organisers turned around to me and said, Nick, I don't want you to swim. Now, being an ex-Royal Marine, there is no way, I'm quite stubborn, you might understand that. There was no way that anyone was actually going to tell me that I'm not going to swim and do this race. Obviously, I was concerned about the safety of my son. This is the second race that we'd done. So I had a guy on a stand-up paddleboard, he followed me just in case Rio decided to go for a swim. So we do our first race, we get out the swim. I'll be honest with you, the swim was absolutely horrendous. It's 1.9k, they did 2 loops. I get to the first buoy and I'm swimming against the tide as it's coming in. And I remember I'm dragging obviously Rio in a kayak. The kayak weighs about 15 kilos, Rio's about 30. So I'm dragging about 45 kilos in the water trying to swim. So I'm swimming into the wing, to the left, and there's a buoy there, and I'm like, yeah, good, I got to the buoy, I'm going to keep going, and then I look up again, the buoy's still there. Swim another 5 minutes, the buoy's still there. It's just nuts. So I was like swimming on the spot, and I was like, I'm getting absolutely exhausted. But we battled on, got to the finish line, and got out onto the bike. And the bike was the turning point on why I do what I do and why I'm stood here today. Now, I'm on the bike and we actually cycle out to here from Jumeirah. Actually come out to Academic City, actually do a loop out here on the road and we go back. So it's about 45k by the time we hit here. And I get to about 65 kilometres, we're going back into Dubai. And we could see, or hardly see, Burj Khalifa. Looked like this. Now, one thing you're probably thinking, I'm out on the swim for about an hour, pulling Rio. I'm out on the bike for about 4 hours and I run for about 2. Now you can imagine, sat in a kayak for 1 hour, I can guarantee you guys would be bored after about 10 minutes. Sat on a bike for 4, you're going to go, yeah, I've had enough of this. So we're coming back into town and I always said to myself, if Rio wants to stop, we stop. So we're coming back into town and Rio stood in front of me and he turns around and looks at me and his face is covered in sand, he's kind of squinting through his eyes and I'm thinking he's going to say, Halas, I've had enough, Dad. Go home. Let's go home. Just enough. But he looks around at me, looks at me in the eye, and you can imagine, I'm on the tri bars, I'm here, I'm pushing away, and the sand's blowing everywhere. And this little kid turns around, looks me in the eye, and he's squinting. And he goes, Dada. He's had enough. I love you. And looks forward. I'm like, no way. This, we've been out for like 3 hours, another hour on the bike. He's loving it. He's loving his father taking him out and riding together. We do, actually, to be honest, it was the easiest 20 kilometers I've done in my life. I get back into the transition, we go out on the run. And the run, we're running up and down the beach. And I'm thinking, still 20k to do, wind everywhere, Rio's still covered in sand. We get across the finish line, and I go over, give Rio a big hug, and to get him out. Good job, Rio, let's go, let's get some food, let's go home, let's chill. So I'm getting him out the pushchair, and Rio goes, Dada, more. I'm like, mate, we've just done 7 hours, and he wants more. He loves it. So we start racing. And I'm going to show you this, which summarised last year, and then I'm going to explain. Should we make some noise for Team Angel Wolf? So that's what we started to do, and just to give you an idea of what we did last year, we swam about 17, this is racing alone, 17 kilometers. We did about 800 on the bike, we ran about 300, we did about 1,000 kilometers, and there's half Ironmans in there. There's Olympic triathlons, sprint triathlons, duathlons, swimming races. There's a marathon in there. I did 42k back in January, pushing Rio. There's running events. The stair climb, did 2 of them. One was Emirates Towers, 55 floors. I was like, obviously I can't push the chair up the stairs. How do I get him up the stairs? I'll put him on my back. So I ran up the stairs. That was something else we did. And then we ran up and down Dubai ski slope about 10 times just for a laugh. Because we did 10 kilometers and I got a little bit of filming. So that's what we did. And that was last year. And even started this year. So you're probably thinking, all right, Nick, so why do you do this? Why do you spend your life doing something quite unique with your son? Well, very simple. Our messages are to encourage awareness, acceptance, inclusion, integration, equality with people with disabilities within the community. Hopefully by you seeing today, anything is possible. Look, this little boy is spreading awareness about these beautiful people and they should be included into society. We have to. I also want to inspire the community to take the responsibility of their own health. Every one of you there, and that includes physical, nutrition, got great nutrition here by the way, environmental and self-help. Now self-help, you're probably thinking, bullying, big thing in schools, hate it, it's absolutely pathetic. Ex-Royal Marine, don't deal with it, and again we go into schools to make people aware that it doesn't fit. Also integrate the importance of teamwork. I cannot race without my wife and my daughter. They're a part of a team. I'm sure you guys, as you not only in school, every team sport that you play, it's important to have a good team and a good bond with each other. And actually to motivate individuals to recognise that anything is possible, to use that same belief to realise that you can also make a difference in this world. Okay, that's one reason, 4 reasons why we do what we do. Now also, you might be aware that when it comes to wheelchair access, children with disabilities having access into schools, Dubai is working extremely hard in making Dubai disabled friendly by 2020 with the Expo coming up. So again, this is something that we're assisting them with. And also reducing the statistics of obesity and diabetes in Dubai. We've got a huge problem here. We've got a huge problem in the world. So how people eat, how people obviously exercise. So hopefully by what we're doing, we may be motivating people to get fit and healthy. Now before I go on, I asked you again, don't have to ask you again, but I asked you just maybe how many you have brothers and sisters. Well, little Wolf is 9. And she inspired me, and she inspired me to realise that a 9-year-old can also make a difference in this world and make a big impact to the community and what she does. So in December, she turned around to me and said, Dad, I want to do something. But what she did say before that was, she said something quite unique. And I'm going to read it. She said, I think everyone should have a brother or sister with special needs. They're so much kinder and more fun than normal brothers and sisters. She's 9. I think you guys 15, 16, 17 years, somewhere around that. Okay, so 9-year-old said that to me. It's like, wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's extremely powerful. Now, any of you in the audience, if you had a son, a brother or a sister that had disabilities, I think how your life might change. So that's Tia, 9-year-old, and she did something that blew me away back in December. And this is Tia.
Sometimes I feel like throw my hands up in the air. I know I can count on you. Sometimes I feel like saying, Lord, I just don't care. But you've got the love I need to see me through. Sometimes it seems that it's just too much. Let me go no matter what I do. Now and then it seems like life is just too much. But you got the love I need to
Tia was here, would we make some noise for her? Thank you. Now, just to give you an idea of what we're doing and where we're going, there's kind of a lot set for the season for Team Angel Wolf. We did about 35 races last year. This year I aim for 40. That's some of the races just up to the end of the year. So again, spreading awareness, racing every weekend. There's loads happening throughout the season. Also, what we want to do is take this to the community. My aim is to get 8 running pushchairs by Dubai Marathon, and again we go out to the athletes in the community and say, look, who wants the opportunity to experience what I do? Pushing a child with disabilities around the marathon or around a running race. Again, we start the community getting involved with what we're doing. Rather than me just racing, I now get people to experience it. We're also going to go to schools, get schools involved with potentially running and being a part of what we're doing. We're also going to reignite this program. We're going to get hold of 7 shares. Again, we're going to go out to schools and say, look, who wants to come down to a beach? Hopefully we're going to get a hotel to support us. Play with, obviously, the children for an hour and see the joy that they get. Now, just to give you an idea of when we did this I used to run this when I had my first gym. We had one little boy who had muscular dystrophy, which means his muscles basically just waste away as he gets older. He's now wheelchair bound. And unfortunately, as time gets on, his condition is getting worse and he's getting less mobile. So he came to our beach a few years ago, and he's a big boy, 16, same age as you guys, but a big lad. And we had to physically help him out of the chair, out of the car, into one of these chairs, and we took him down to the beach. He was really quiet during the session, but smiled, just absorbing the day. When we finished, we were helping him get him back to his car, push the chair back up, and we were lifting him back into the car. And it took 3 or 4 of us, and we got him into the car, and he turned around and he did a big smile to me. He said, Nick, 16. This is the first time I've been on the beach since I was 7. I was like, what? He says, yeah, my parents can't get me down to the beach. It's the first time I've experienced going to the beach, being in the water, and actually playing with other people with my condition. And I was like, awesome. And the children that were there that day were in tears. They were like, what, we've just done that today? I was like, yep, this is what we do. So this was just absolutely awesome. So we're going to reunite this. I also, because of triathlon, I do 3 free sessions. Trying to inspire people to get fit and healthy. I do a swim session on a Thursday, a cycle session actually yesterday down at Narushima, and I do a run session tonight. We have about 60, 70 people that will join us. We have quite a good session down at Narushima race cycle track. The idea there is trying to motivate society to get fit and healthy, and I'm obviously offering my services for free. And the idea also is, say if you remember those running push chairs, there may be a parent out there who would love to push their own child, but they feel, I don't feel I'm fit enough, I'm conditioned enough. So we're like, come to the sessions, let me get you fit, strong, and then one day you have the opportunity to push your own child. So it's something that we're doing as well. And I'm finishing with a couple of things at the moment. I've got a nice video to follow. Just to give you an idea, I went to a couple of companies in the summer, and I did this talk, like I did today. And we turned around to them and said, look, one company was about 200 employees, the other one's about 100. We turned around to them and said, look, why don't you, after our talk, they're inspired to get fit and healthy, why don't you do a triathlon? So last weekend, 65 employees from Omnicom Media Group and 85 from The Entertainer participated in the Roy Nasser Triathlon. And this was a sprint triathlon. Some of these guys had never done triathlons before. First time they'd swim, bike, run. Some did it as teams. So I'm sure, obviously, within you guys, if you ever put a team together on a triathlon, one of you can swim, one of you can bike, one of you can run. So we obviously was quite inspired, obviously, by motivating people to do something, and with fitness and health. And I'm going to leave you, but I'm going to play one more video afterwards. I said to you about the beginning that Rio, when he was growing up, we never knew and still don't know his future. Rio has a huge amount of problems with walking. You know, he gets there, it's difficult, but when he was a child and he was, you know, crawling around or trying to learn to crawl, came really late. We never knew what his future was. We never knew that he could walk. We never knew where his condition would take us. But in April, we thought, well, let's have a go at something very unique. And if you guys have got any excuses, and I know you're going through mocks, I know things are tough, work, play, family, friend, trying to balance everything, obviously, and getting ready. And if you think things are difficult, watch this little boy, and hopefully, when times are tough, he might inspire you to work that little bit harder. So this is Rio. So what do you reckon? That's Rio. So just to let you understand that, to be honest, at the end of the day, absolutely anything is possible. Now, before I finish, I'm just going to show you something that we did at the weekend, but I want you just some thoughts. What I did tell you is, in life, things will be thrown at you. And like I said, I had obviously a little boy with disabilities. I kind of found a way to do something extremely positive with him and his story. But along the way, guys, you guys are going to have similar journeys to me. For those that go out and end up running their own business, being an entrepreneur has its pros and has its cons. I've been here for almost 20 years, and on 2 occasions that I've set up my own business, including my gym and the radio station, I brought on the wrong partners. And 3 years ago, I lost everything with the gym. So I started again. Started with a children's radio station. A year ago, we lost everything. So I actually stand on this stage today with the same amount of money, I'm not going to tell you that when I arrived 19 years ago. And I have a choice. I can bury my head in the ground, or I can get up and do something extremely positive. And what I want you to take away from today's talk is that you guys can do exactly the same. You're going into your mock exams, which will lead to your exams next May. But at the end of the day, what you want to hopefully focus on is that you also can make a huge difference on this planet. You may not think of it now at 16, I was 16 once, so I know how you guys are, but I know that all of you have got a big heart in there, can actually realise that absolutely anything is possible. Whatever that is, you want to go out and find it. In this case, it was my son. It's my son, time and time again, when I get up in the morning going, I want to do something extraordinary here. You know, I want to go to schools. I want to speak to you guys. I want to go to corporate. I want to build this message and obviously get our story out there. So, go away with thinking that anything is possible, and that every one of you in this audience today can make a huge, I mean a huge difference on this planet. And that's my talk, but I'm going to finish off with one thing. And this was something that we did at the weekend. Did any of you hear about, any of you do it actually, the Desert Warrior Challenge? Any of you go out there and do it? Anyone heard about it? Okay, this was a race, that was an obstacle race that was at the weekend. I haven't actually embedded this video into my presentation, but I thought you might want to see it. This is something that we did on Friday morning. That's Little Wolf, by the way, and our mates on my car. But I want you to think about one thing. So I'm going to finish off with this. It's a little bit long, but you're going to love it. This was a team of 6 people, and my thought process a month ago was, there's a 20k obstacle race. How are we going to get my son around 20 kilometers, obstacles, and you'll see the obstacles. And I thought, okay, let's get a stretcher. Let's carry him for 20k, spread awareness, and see what you think. I'd like to know your... It's the first time I've shown it to anyone who is not on social media.
Trying to cross the canyon with a broken limb. You on the other side, like always, wondering what to do now.
Fuck your business. I hate you! Come on!
You're on the other side, like always. You can never make
thank you, peace, love, thank you.
Amazing inspiration, dedication. Thank you so much. We've got 5 minutes left, so does anyone have any questions that they want to ask?
Don't be shy. Please.
What would be your advice to other aspiring entrepreneurs who want to make a difference?
Look, it's a very good question. I think first and foremost, you need to understand what your vision is. I think maybe I've been lucky. I think at the end of the day, I followed my heart, so that's been health and fitness. So sport has been my thing. Triathlon has been my sport, and if I look at everything that I've done, I'm a firm believer, and you will find this yourself, you won't believe me now. Life will take you in all different directions, but at the end of the day, if you find something that you love, follow that to the end. And I've kind of ended up going in a full circle. So I've ended up with a sport, which is triathlon, which now I'm doing my son, I'm a father. So now obviously I have a son with disabilities or special needs, and you know, as a dad, I'm wanting to get that message out there to obviously spread awareness about people with special needs, and also first and foremost to inspire you lot to get fit and healthy. So my industry's always been sport. So the advice I would give you, as we're old, Mustafa, and the two of us are entrepreneurs, and we followed our hearts. And I think that anyone who has an inspirational story will stand up on stage, who run their own business, do something you love. I find time and time again, especially the fitness industry, people get into careers and they end up doing them for the next 10, 15 years, and they end up falling in love with something that they did when they were younger. So that might be sports, and they end up becoming a personal trainer or something within that industry. So my advice to, obviously as an entrepreneur, do what makes you happy. There is not a better feeling than waking up in the morning and looking forward to going to work. The time you guys have got those jobs and you wake up and you go, can I put in a sickie? You know, that's something that you don't want to be doing. So my advice is obviously follow the heart. Obviously you need to make a living out of it. Make sure you do something that can be sustainable as well. But yeah, that would be my advice to any budding entrepreneur. And also, learn by your mistakes. They say two things. Two of the best, some of the Richard Bransons, the big entrepreneurs out there, they actually say you have to be bankrupt twice before you're successful. So you have to learn by your mistakes. And don't be afraid if they're going to happen, because the best thing for you to do is to get back up on your feet and go at it again at 110%. Anyone else? Yes, please, Rob. It's crossed my mind, but not very often. The thing that drives me every time I race, and like I said, I've got a race this weekend. Most weekends there's some time too. When I wake up every morning, Rio, the first thing he will say to me is, "Dad, our race." So we wake him up at 4:30, the races start at 6:30. The day before, he has a thing called sensory as well. So when you put a helmet on Rio, he doesn't like it. But he knows he has to wear a helmet. So the day before, if he knows he's doing a triathlon, he'll go, "Dada, helmet, helmet." And he's smiling. So there is never a reason for me to give up. There is sometimes you're going, okay, it's tough, but giving up never really comes to it. Getting hard, but all I've got to do is look at Rio, smiling. We were out there for almost 7 hours of that desert challenge. The last slide that we did, and I was thinking, I've been putting my arms, putting between my legs, how's he going to be? He was laughing all the way down. We hit the water, he was giggling. And I was like, this is after 6.5 hours, and he's loving it. So the word giving up, I wouldn't say giving up. You know, you always find difficult times. It's how you get back up is the most important thing. Anyone else? Come on, there's hundreds of you. Go on, bro. Mate, honestly, I think he was supposed to say that. No, look, honestly, you know, I've been quite personal there. I don't normally finish off with, obviously, our current situation. And if I can make a difference, if there's one of you in this audience, that's all I want, that goes out and makes a difference, my job's been worth its while. If there's more, it's even better. But if one of you goes away with the message that we're trying to say, then I am more than utterly grateful for the time that you spent almost the last hour listening to me waffling away. So if we can go away and inspire you, you go out and make a difference. You go out and inspire other people. Find us on Facebook, find us you're probably on Instagram. Follow us, please do that, spread the word. That's the only thing I ask for you at the moment. But personally, like I said before, go out there and really make a difference.
Mark said it, so thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Enjoy.
What a hard act to follow. Thank you. I suppose, guys, I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about me, my story, and so why I'm here chatting to you. So basically, what we're going to look at is a little bit of mindfulness and meditation. So my background obviously is I became a teacher. I was the biggest stress head ever, and people used to say to me, you know what, you should try a little bit of meditation. So I went to my first off and I signed up for a 6-week course. I went in the first day and they sat me down, it was nice and quiet, and they said, now